All right, everybody.
This is quite the setup.
Welcome to With That Being Said, our seasonal cocktail edition. I'm Bradley Schneller. This is Sarah Altobello.
Hey, team.
Welcome. This is going to be a little bit of an interactive show today. We're making some drinks. We're going to be answering some questions from our listeners group.
Yeah.
While we do it. So just bear with us. This is going to be a whole lot of fun. If you have any questions throughout the show, just put them in the comment section. We'll get them answered to you as fast as possible.
Yeah, so it is, I think it's still technically fall, although we kind of skipped it and it feels like winter here.
Feels like winter. I got my infinity scarf on, so I'm ready to go.
That's how you know the seasons have changed.
It's true.
So this is what, maybe our fourth or fifth cocktail we've done, and I think all of them have been pretty light, kind of.
I got drunk off of our last one.
Yeah, the watermelon one, we had a time after we filmed. We made more for anyone who was at the gym.
Yeah, we drank a lot of watermelon margaritas.
Yeah, so the ones in the past have been, I think, pretty light and summery and bubbly, so we wanted to do something for like fall and winter, so we're going to do a bourbon apple smash is what it's called.
Sounds good. We have an assortment of different bourbons up here. You can use whatever you want. We are going to use the Knob Creek Maple today.
It was an executive decision.
It was an executive decision. Truth be told, this recipe calls for a simple syrup or honey, but I had to bring my daughter to school this morning and completely sidetracked my brain, and I forgot the sweetener. So that's why we're choosing the maple, although I think it's going to be really good.
I do too. I don't know. I feel like a lot of times we think we need the sweetener and you really don't, and especially because we're adding the apple. The apple should be sweet. You have lemon. Adding the maple, I think all of those flavors you don't necessarily need it in.
It's cool. This is the first time I've bought cinnamon sticks, so I'm really excited. Yeah,
I feel like you do a lot of bougie things. The fact that you've never gotten cinnamon sticks is really fascinating.
So, I guess I'll put some ice in there. I'll put ice. So,
you ready to start?
Let's get started.
You need half of a Honey Crisp apple, roughly chopped. I don't know what that means to you.
I saw, look at this knife I'm about to use. I saw a picture online of the apple, so I have an idea.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it a shot. It's mostly for the garnish at the end. We're going to chop it. But let's start with our first question. Sarah, what do we got? What's our first question?
How old is Rue?
Rue is 6 years old.
Yeah, 6.5.
6.5 years.
So next, how did you come up with that name?
Yeah, so
you with that name.
I went through about 40 different names. I was actually sitting at my cousin's table, Lauren and David Kenny, and I was throwing out a bunch of names, and a lot of them were pretty silly and stupid. The best ones were already taken.
Yeah.
So, and this shout out to my boy Jonathan DeJean over at Crew to CrossFit. 6.5 years ago, or maybe 7 years ago, I applied for Crew CrossFit.
And you got denied?
With a K. And I got denied because there was a CrossFit Crew, CREW, I believe, in the Northeast. And 5 years later, Crew to CrossFit pops up, and I wanted to take this knife instead.
Bradley was not salty at all.
I was pissed off for a while now. So that's why we were actually dual branded Crew Fitness, CrossFit Rue for a long time, and then we just dropped that because it didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, we still get mail for Crew CrossFit.
What do you think?
Sure, I'd love to. So next, why we start every class with an icebreaker. How did that start? Has it always been in place?
Yeah, so I was at another CrossFit gym prior to Rue, before I opened this up. CrossFit NOLA, shout out to them. And they started the icebreaker question. And it really had a good sense of creating community. And there's a lot of people, like, sometimes, you know, it seems forced, or we've done the question before, but what it does is it gets everyone talking to each other and becomes friendly. I dabbled for 3 or 4 years as a business coach for gyms, and I always told all of my owners that I spoke to, I said, no one will quit your gym because you have an icebreaker, no matter how pissed off they are. But people will stay at your gym because of the icebreaker.
Oh, absolutely. I know things about members that I would never know otherwise.
Good.
It's a really good apple.
This is a Honeycrisp apple. Sarah and my favorite.
Your favorite.
My favorite. What's your favorite?
The one I like slightly more that is not always available is the Envy apple. It's stupid sweet, and I always eat them cold.
So, a little tip for this recipe. It calls for a sweet apple soup. Don't use a Granny Smith apple, obviously. That's for baking. Don't use a Red Delicious apple. I don't know why you would ever eat a Red Delicious apple anyway. So, and quite honestly, my wife loves Pink Lady apples, which you could use for this, but I haven't had a super sweet Pink Lady apple in 3 years. So,
Same. I'm realizing I have a lot of strong opinions on apples right now,
Yeah.
and I didn't think I did.
yeah. All right. Oh, so the icebreaker. Yeah, so I like it a lot. That's why we do it.
Yeah,
It really
and
is.
as silly as I think people feel in the get-go, they end up loving it.
I agree. And sometimes, like, the icebreaker is really legit and it spawns off events that night or new things to do or makes us all hungry. Like yesterday, we did what was your favorite sandwich?
That all day, like it didn't matter if I had just eaten, but when that question came up, I was immediately hungry.
I was pretty hungry.
It was a good time.
All right, what's the next question?
What are the big differences in the programs at Root? So we've got a lot going on. We have CrossFit, we have Sculpt, functional bodybuilding, and endurance.
Yeah, so the reason we have all those programs is because sometimes maybe your body doesn't feel like lifting a lot of weight. And I mean, the way I program the gym for the CrossFit side is I program for 5 days of lifting, the 6th day on Saturday is related to the other 5 days, but it's still lifting.
Right.
And there's not a lot of break in there. Well, some people, they might need breaks, but they still want to work out. Well, instead of having to go somewhere else and do a workout, we created all these different programs like Sculpt, Endurance, Functional Bodybuilding, and Boxing. That way, if you get bored or your body needs a break, you have one membership that covers all of it. This requires 2 ounces of lemon.
Yeah, by the way, we're still making a cocktail over here.
Seems like a lot of
So
lemon.
it does, but
Seems like a lot of lemon. We'll make it. We'll make it.
we're gonna roll with it. We also don't have honey, so lemon's a strong flavor.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Next, kind of the last Rue specific question. Where do you see Rue in 5 years?
Huh. That's interesting. So, where I want to move Rue in 5 years is basically to not only a gym where you come to work out, but a health and wellness center that keeps you free from disease and sickness and whatever else, where you come to us, we have doctors on staff, everything to be. I just gave away our entire business plan via video. It is what it is. Oh well. Somebody's got to do it before we do it, so there it is. I doubt those people are listening to us anyway.
Well, you've made those steps.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's where I want to keep doing, like preventative health care for everyone. And it has semi-customized program, not for each individual, but different tracks that you can take in order to get the most benefit out of who you are and what you're trying to accomplish.
I think the biggest thing that I hear when you talk about Rue in the future is we already try to do this, but well and truly caring about the whole human from when they walk in the door to when they go home and giving them all the tools they need for their best, healthiest, happiest life.
Absolutely.
And so I think it's just taking more steps towards that. What you got now?
Nutmeg. So it calls for some fresh grated nutmeg. I don't know where you get that. I'm guessing in Whole Foods. But guys, we work during the day, so it's not like we had time. I know some people don't think we work, but we work during the day, so I didn't have time to go get fresh nutmeg. Okay, so we're going to use the ground nutmeg 365 Whole Foods brand. We're just going to put a
We're just
pinch
gonna make it a
in,
little spicy.
and by a pinch I mean 5 pinches.
And then what else do we need a pinch of?
Cardamom.
Yes.
I had never used this before.
Really? Yeah.
It
Use
smells
it
good.
a lot. in baking.
All right.
Salt.
Cardamom's in there. I'm gonna add. It calls for cinnamon sticks as a garnish, but I'm just gonna put a little pinch in.
Should we muddle a little bit of apple to go in there?
You can drop some apple.
How do you feel about that?
That sounds good.
I guess you can use a teaspoon.
I'm gonna
You're
use
gonna
the
use-
back of the knife.
That's cool. I'm gonna come over here for that.
Yeah. What's our next question?
Who does the programming?
Yeah. So I do the programming for CrossFit, Sculpt, endurance, and functional bodybuilding, and Jana does the programming for Olympic weightlifting, and then
It's coach's choice for.
yeah,
boxing.
coach for boxing. It's whatever the coach wants to do. Cut this up a little bit here.
Cool. When do you do your programming? Like all the stuff that you write. When do you write that every week?
Yeah. So every quarter I write an idea or a plan that I want to do. Sorry, the juice is good in here.
Yeah.
A plan for the quarter or 12 weeks. And then every Sunday, I will write out the detailed version. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's a weekend thing. It's what I do on the weekends. I don't like to write the details out a full 12 weeks in advance, just because I kind of like to be in the moment of how we're feeling as a gym.
Yeah, and you can make adjustments that way. Like you're not married to the specifics. Does that smell good?
It's the pie.
So excited, y'all.
It smells like a pie.
So that was the other question. So would you say most of our training cycles are about 12 weeks?
Yeah, we have some cycles that are 8. We've done some pretty intense weightlifting cycles in CrossFit and Sculpt, where I've kept those to about 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Just because you can't go much longer than that, or y'all gonna be all mad at me.
With our current kind of training, or not even current, but the last few months, we got a question kind of why we have stepped away from snatches and overhead squats.
Yeah, I believe it was, the question was, how come we don't practice snatches and overhead squats? And it's a good question because a lot of CrossFit gyms are built on the Olympic lifts. But what I've tried to do is I've tried to evolve our gym, evolve our programming over time and not be married to one ideology, which is why we do functional bodybuilding in our CrossFit programming in addition to the other class and a lot of other things. I do straight up bodybuilding things sometimes in a flow.
Oh, yeah.
Strict gymnastics work, that kind of stuff.
We had the whole hypertrophy cycle.
We did a hypertrophy cycle. So the reason why is because she used that word practice. And practice is what it takes to be really good at the snatch or highly skilled gymnastics movements. And I feel like people pay a lot of money to come to Ruby and get fitness for an hour every day. And if you have to practice that, which takes a lot of time, I mean, Sarah lifts on the side. How much do you practice the snatch? And by practice, I mean work on technique.
2 to 3 times a week.
2 to 3 times a week. And I believe that's like 45 minutes every time you like really work on this. Maybe 30 minutes?
Yeah, maybe 30 minutes, and it's just like working something different every time. Like,
And so that's an hour and a half just on the snatch, and that doesn't have anything else to do with her fitnessing, okay? And so it takes a lot of time to perfect it, to do it safely. And that's the key word, safely. So what we want here at Rue is we want biggest bang for your buck of exercise while still being fun, doing different things while minimizing the risk of injury. In order to do that stuff, you have to practice a lot. When you're practicing a lot, for most people, you're not getting a ton of exercise in, or the best amount of exercise in that time that you give me. You want to come and do a personal training session? I will snatch you up as much as you want, okay? Also, we have an Olympic lifting class that we talked about earlier, which is one of the reasons we have the program, for you to dive in for a full 45 minutes or an hour.
for 6 weeks.
For 6 weeks, twice a week for 6 weeks in order to perfect the snatch. And we do that 4 times a year. So half the year, you can work on snatch, okay?
Yeah.
And that's why. So we're going to add in the the maple bourbon now. I did not bring a shot glass out, so we're just going to.
We're gonna measure it with our hearts.
I'm gonna tell Sarah. I'm gonna ask Sarah to tell me when to stop.
Ooh, don't do that. I say pour all of it. I can't see.
I
don't
think
know.
That's probably
That's
good.
probably
That's
good.
probably good.
I mean, it's like 11:15.
I gotta work out yet.
What? So one of the coaches brought up this question, and kind of it's more of something we get a lot in class, and I guess what they wanted was us to talk about how we address it when it comes up, and that's when there's a workout program and someone comes into class and they say, "Do I have to do this?"
Interesting. The long and short of it is no, you don't have to do anything. Okay.
It's your workout.
It's your workout, and if there's a movement you feel strongly about that you don't want to do, you don't have to do it. We program stuff best on what we see fit for the majority of the gym. Okay, and I move people through certain things to get certain stimulus. However, if that's something that you can't do that day, or you just hate it, I'd rather you still come to the gym and just ask for something else. Like, all the coaches are more than capable enough for subbing out an exercise.
Absolutely. I have had someone and I've basically given them a completely different workout, maybe aside from the rep schemes or the time domain. It has been completely different movements. Ooh, cinnamon sticks are out, y'all.
This is festive.
Well, and I think that also brings up another point that one of our coaches brought up, and that's this feeling, and I think we've addressed it before, like, we just want you ultimately to show up and move and be safe.
Right.
There should be no shame in using lighter weights or scaling or modifying. Like, to us, it just matters that you're here.
Right, absolutely. And I mean, we all go through some aches and pains.
Mm-hmm.
And so we all, like, even the coaches have modified stuff. You know, Sarah, you did a workout recently.
On Monday.
On Monday. Tell us what happened.
So Monday was actually the first day in a very long time where we had snatches and overhead squats. And I just knew
The combination.
with the weather changing, being cold, maybe not stretching enough before. Cheers.
Oh,
That's real nice, y'all.
holy cow. We did not need sugar.
No sugar needed. That's real good. And yes, you do need that much lemon.
Yes.
Yeah.
You did that much sugar.
But I knew
One drink's not gonna. I'll be fine.
we still have lunch to
I gotta
eat.
eat.
It's fine. I knew that the movements and the way it was set up, I knew my back would most likely tighten up because I injured it right around 2 years ago. I've had issues since then with it getting tight easily. So I kept the stimulus, I did the burpees, and then instead of doing snatches or overhead squats, I just did shoulder to overhead. Just did my own thing.
Perfectly acceptable.
And I wasn't mad that I couldn't log it on the whiteboard.
Yeah, you still did the same parameters in terms of rep schemes and time domains. You just changed them.
Right, and tried to pick weights that were going to challenge me for the number of reps that were required.
I feel like this would not give me a hangover at all.
I feel like I could drink a dangerous amount of that.
I could drink a lot of these and not have a headache the next day.
I also feel like this is something that you could drink warm. Like, there's not a lot of cocktails that you
Like
could
a hot
have
toddy.
warm.
You
Yeah,
could drink this one, I think.
it's almost like a lemon cinnamon tea.
Yeah, I see that. Totally.
Yeah. All right, we have a few other random things. Do you have to be in shape to do CrossFit?
No, guys.
You come to CrossFit to get
to get in shape. Yeah, like, it's our job to get you in shape, so just show up.
Something that someone brought up is when new people come in and they say, "Oh, but you make it look so easy."
Well, that's because we've been doing it a long time.
Yeah, I recently was like cleaning out photos and videos on my phone, and I found like some PR videos just from like 3 years ago, and I thought I was seriously hot shit. And I look at it now, and I'm like, "Ooh, that was a mess."
Yeah, it makes me think of the
You
first.
shared a video.
Yeah, I shared a video of my snatch, which was terrible, but it also, like, it relates to a lot of different things. You know, I made gumbo for the first time ever from scratch with a roux and everything. Haha. a few weeks ago, and it was terrible. But I know what I did wrong. Next time it's gonna be a little bit better. You know, the more you do things, the better you get at them. That goes the same for music, dance, whatever. So you just come and do it often enough, you get a lot better, and you too can make it look easy.
Yeah, it's true. This one is as it pertains to, do you do cardio? Like, is that the only way you're gonna like torch those calories? That's a pretty common misconception, right? Like, to burn fat, you have to do a lot of cardio.
Building muscle mass burns fat.
Yeah. So lift some weights.
Like that fat burning zone. Come on, get out of here. Get out of here.
These are some personal.
Oh, and yes, we do cardio because when we lift weights and do burpees or box jumps or double unders or rowing or running with lifting weights, your heart rate is elevated for an extended period of time. Cardio.
And I think that's something that our gym excels in general.
Yes.
And we take a lot of pride in that. We got some personal ones. What skill do you feel like you excel in?
Double unders.
I was like,
Double
why are you
unders.
taking so long
Double
to
unders.
answer this question?
I did 300 in a row one time unbroken.
Nice.
I haven't tried to do that lately, but I'd be interested to see how many I can do in a row.
Nice. I feel I can thrusters. I have
Thrusters.
really high tolerance for thrusters.
I think your toe to bar are really good. Like, I
Thanks.
think you're
Yeah,
really
I really do
skilled
enjoy
with toe to bar.
those. It's the dancer in me. I point my toes in my shoes.
Boom.
And then what movement? A may phrase this as what movements would we rather eat dirt than complete?
Shit, I hate burpees. But I don't hate them as much as I used to hate them. There are some other things I hate. Let me think about it. You go ahead.
It's getting better, but because of like the work we talked about earlier, but until recently, overhead squats were like the bane of my existence. But I figured out what I was doing wrong, and it has been a game changer since, but I hate it.
I hate the bike.
True.
Whenever Sarah and I do a workout together that has the bike in it, she destroys me. It's not close. She leaves me in the dirt.
Okay, bye. How often do we work out?
So, I got 2 kids. I'm like most of the people that come to the gym here. I don't have a lot of time. I usually just do the class unless my schedule sees otherwise. So like yesterday, I had to coach in the afternoon as well, doing a quarter review. So I worked out at 2:30 with my darling wife.
It was real cute.
And it's an hour. So most of the time, it's an hour or less, 6 days a week. So at the very least, I try to get 30 to 35 minutes in.
You do a good job of that.
Yeah, and so like even if I can't get a full workout, I just try to get a lift in, or a lift and some time on the bike or the rower or something like that, to where it's not crazy, but I just get about 35 minutes in.
Yeah. I get close to 2 hours, 6 days a week. I come kind of during the 6:30 a.m. class, and part of it is I've really come to enjoy that. It is, as the 6:30 class clears out, there's some quiet time here, and most days that is the single, like those are the only
time
minutes
you're quiet.
I have alone during the day, so I really enjoy that. I'll lift weights, and then usually in the afternoon I'll try to hit a Metcon or work on some skill, try and hop in with class, just because that's really important to me. And I know you value that in all the coaches.
Yeah, I love for all the coaches to at least do a few classes a week.
And that is separate. Like, we don't do the class while we're coaching.
Right. Except on Sundays.
2 more. What are your biggest gym pet peeves?
I got a lot of them. So,
What are some that are kind of nice? Or like, I'll say this.
like I hate when, my pet peeve is when people don't respect the equipment.
Yeah.
Like that's probably my biggest pet peeve is how you respect the equipment. A lot of people think they're paying a membership, they can just throw stuff around, and that drives me crazy. All of us have to use it. Believe it or not, there are expenses that come with running this gym, and we can't just be buying new equipment all the time. So
It's not free. You guys work.
it's respecting the
Mind-blowing.
equipment. I know for Kevin, it's replacing the toilet paper in the bathrooms.
kind of the serious one I have is people. Look, ultimately, like we've said, it's your workout. I want you to do all of the reps, but if you are shaving to try to win and then put it in the board, like, we don't care.
Right.
We just want you to get a little fitter. And it just kind of, brings the morale down for some people. But then my kind of sillier one is y'all throw 20-pound wall balls 10 feet up in the air, but the number of paper towels in the bathroom that don't make it into the trash can is absolutely astounding.
That's funny.
It blows my mind.
I like it.
Love y'all, but damn.
That's a good one.
And so we're going to finish with, as we always do, it either comes back to alcohol or food. What is one food you could eat for the rest of your life?
This is tough because, like, my go-to response in my gut is pizza. But if I could just eat pizza every day for the rest of my life, I wouldn't be here running this gym in front of you.
That's true.
I would turn into your boy from Dodgeball, shoving pizza in my pants.
And you have a lot of options with pizza.
You do. So I'm gonna hold off on that and let you go. One food, so it's like a single thing.
I don't know why, but I feel like I would completely change my answer if you asked me this again in an hour. But my head went to A, like Mediterranean food, B, like a really good loaded hummus, like a hummus with like
Sounds good.
roasted red peppers and feta and tomato. Like, I could eat that all the time.
The like optimal answer would be organ meat because you get protein and then you get all the good stuff from the organs.
Yeah, but this, I mean, it's not the most realistic question.
It's not realistic, so maybe a big salad. I don't know. Big salad.
We can have those every day.
Yeah, I have those every day, so I could eat that every day. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So.
Ooh, I've recently started going ham on the Trader Joe's cauliflower gnocchi.
That's so good. That's so good.
I could eat that every day. I finish it off with like an Italian seasoning blend and a little bit of mozzarella when it comes out. Ooh. Yeah, I could do that. Nice and crispy.
So that about wraps it up for today. We appreciate you guys watching us. This was a lot of fun. I had fun doing this whole AMA. AMA stands for Ask Me Anything. If you didn't know.
I also appreciate this cocktail you made.
This cocktail is really good. So if you make this cocktail at home, it is the Apple Smash. We'll have the recipe out for you. Also, when you do make this cocktail at home, we want you to take a picture, post on our Instagram, and hashtag Brew Fitness, hashtag what? Brew Cocktail Hour?
Yeah.
Hashtag Brew Cocktail Hour.
Oh, and just to reiterate, we did not add the honey. I'll include that. And we used the Knob Creek smoked maple. Created a very lovely.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I would do that again. So, I wonder. I have that wild Jack Daniel's American honey. That would be good too.
That, and I do think that Basil Hayden's you and I really like.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
I mean, that Basil Hayden's is good in anything.
Yeah, and straight. So, all right, y'all. Have a good one.
Bye.